In this video, I take a look at how to shade a semicircle. Now, this might seem simple, but this idea is actually really useful, and it does get a little complex as we get going. So I would encourage you to pause the video and work through 1 through 13 on your own. Do notice that the problems go down. They're they get progressively harder as you go. So go ahead and pause it, and if you're not 100% confident, I would encourage you to check after your second problem, make sure you're on the right track, and then check again after your 9th problem to make sure you're on the right track. Some of you, this will be simple, but it's a really useful skill for what we're going to be working with next. Shade half of a semicircle, we just cut it in half, and we shade half of it, no problem. Shading a third of a semicircle, I find that most students will end up dividing the semicircle like this, and then shading 1/3 of it. And that is correct. That works great. I do find that some students think of it and dividing it in thirds this way. Yeah, that was a little quick there, but with vertical lines. Now, I always think of my kids, if I was cutting up a cookie or a cake and I said, okay, each of you gets a third, which piece do you want if you like cake? Well, you probably want this one because it looks bigger, and in fact it is bigger. So this actually is not a third because it's not divided into equal pieces. So it's really important that when you're dividing into thirds that you do it equally. And so that means for this one, we do want to cut it more like a pie so that we do get roughly, supposed to be 3 equal pieces, and I get 1/3 of it. A fourth, then, I can cut it in half and in half again to get a fourth. 3/4, I'm wanting quarters, and then I'm wanting 1, 2, 3 of those quarters. Shading a sixth, I'm going to cut it in half, and then I'm going to cut these halves in thirds. So now I get 1/6. 2/3, I'm going to cut this into thirds and shade 2 of them. 4/6, I'm going to cut it into half, and then each half I'm going to cut into 3 parts. So that gives me a total of 6 pieces, and I need 4 of those 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Over here. 5/6, I'm going to cut it in half, and then I'm going to cut each side into thirds. And I'm going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all but one of them. Number 9, shade 3 halves of a circle. This is of a semicircle. This is kind of interesting because I need 3 halves. If I cut it in half, I only get 1, 2. So I need another half of a semicircle. You could draw it in different ways. I'm going to draw it like this. And so now I have 3 halves of a semicircle, which is interesting. That's 3/4 of a whole circle, but we're going to really focus on the semicircle idea here, and I'll explain why in the next video. Shade 7/6 of a semicircle. You might think, okay, I need to chop this in sixth. From there, divide each half into 3 parts. Oh wait, that's 6 pieces, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. I need 7 pieces, so I'm going to have to go ahead and draw the rest of the circle. Cut this into 6 parts, and then I need a 7th one over here. So this is 7/6 of a semicircle. And this is just called an improper fraction, or a fraction greater than 1, and it's just how we work with numbers that are greater than 1. We're going to need more than 1 semicircle. All right, take a look for shading 7/4 of a semicircle. Quarters, I'm going to cut this into quarters. So I need 1, 2, 3, I got 4 of them. I'm going to need another semicircle. I'm going to cut that one in quarters. So I get 5, 6, 7/4 of a semicircle. 5/3 of a semicircle, you're probably getting the hang of this. It doesn't matter how you draw them, whether you draw them like this or like a whole circle. I need 5 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I need 5/3 of a semicircle. And the last one. Think about how you would draw 34 thirds of a semicircle. Go ahead and pause it, think it through a little more. Lots of way of doing this. I'm seeing 34 thirds of a semicircle. It's easy for me to draw circles, so I'm going to try to do that. If I do it carefully, I think it'll make a circle out of it for me. There we go. So I know that each circle has 6 semicircles in it. So I'm seeing 6 I said that wrong. Each circle has 2 semicircles, but it has 6 thirds. So 6 thirds. So I'm thinking I need multiple ones of these. So how many circles will I need? Well, 34, I need to get something that multiplies to 6. I know 5 times 6 is 30. So if I have 5 whole circles, 1, 2, 3, 4, pretend that's a nice, pretty circle. Okay, so I know I have here 36th. I'm going to need 4 more sixths in my last circle. And so I'm getting myself caught up here. This isn't correct. It's not 36th. It's 30 thirds of a semicircle. So these are each 1/3 of a semicircle. There's 6 thirds of a semicircle in each circle. So 6 times 5, there are 30 thirds of a semicircle. We could count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30 thirds. And I need 4 more thirds here. And so I'm going to shade in 4 more of those thirds. That was a lot more difficult than I thought it would be. 34 thirds, breaking it up into groups of 6 thirds. So there's 5 6/3 to get whole circles, plus 4 more thirds. That's going to give me 34 thirds. So just breaking apart circles into sections, and at first it's harder than it seems. Or it starts out simple with semicircles, and it gets more challenging as we get into improper fractions, and then larger numbers. It's more to think through. But we're going to use this process a lot.